quality human beings sitting across from me in the studio, 6 feet from us. He is an owner, chiropractor, and a friend. He owns the SLO Wellness Center with a group of fantastic humans, and I've been going there for a long time. He is Rex Stevens. To perform, to thrive, and to grow. That is the motto of the SLO Wellness Center. Thanks for coming in.
Always good to be there.
I miss Living the Run. If you don't know, and Rolf didn't know that about you, that you had a show. It was right before me or right after me for years called Living the Run, and then Paul Tarek decided to have babies and get puppies, and so he left, and then you're like, I don't want to do it by myself.
You missed just watching the Olympian walk in the door. 30
seconds,
10 seconds before the show started.
I know. When's the last time you saw him?
A couple weeks.
He's really let himself go. I've seen him at the Pittsburgh Preserve. He comes out there with Shiloh and the kids, and they have a Rottweiler, such a cute, sweet dog. And he comes out, I'm like, who are you? His hair's all, he's really let himself go.
Let himself go, and his letting himself go, he's still an Adonis, a superhero of sorts. The guy just...
How does that happen? It's
genetic athletic freak.
Well, right, and you go to the Olympics, and all of a sudden you come back, and you get to keep the Olympic body forever? Like, how does that work? Don't you have to, train it? You just got lucky.
It's not everybody, it's Paul.
You've been through it in March. You closed the center for, less than a week. You had people come back as soon as they felt safe. It looks like you're pretty back up to, it seems like when I'm there, back up to the numbers. Athletes, when they've come back, has it been like? Because I'm guessing, Rex, that the conversations aren't just about their back or their neck or their hips. What is it like talking to athletes that are going through this?
Yeah, I mean, they're emotionally confused, I think, is probably the best way to say it. I mean, so much of competition comes in your preparation, and so much of that comes in that thought process behind, hey, we're 4 weeks out from this, we're 3 months out from this, we're off season, we're preseason, we're whatever it might be, and there's confusion around it. And I think that's what makes it tough to alter the physical training schedule to what you're going to do. You're a fall athlete, now you just were told that you're going to be pushed to the spring. Then you get to as we're coming up to the January, and then the spring, they say, hey, maybe those fall sports are done. So now it's like, well, how do I prepare within that, both physically, but then mentally, if those competitions are going to happen? And I think that that's probably the biggest thing is, sometimes we talk about getting those butterflies before you're going to compete, and it's a way I use with my sons, that whole acronym for fear, right? And I think a lot of great athletes use fear in a positive way because they're prepared. Sometimes we think about some of those guys who, rock climbing. We've all seen that documentary. We see Laird Hamilton surf the big waves. And the big question is, those guys are always, don't you have fear? Has the fear disappeared? Their aspect of fear is feeling excited and ready. They have so much preparation, so much organization, so much time, both visually, in their head, as well as physically preparing, that when that time comes to perform, they're ready. When you don't know when that time is going to be, it becomes much more difficult. And I just hear from athlete after athlete, there just seems to be that kind of, confusion is the word I think of all the time. They just don't know when to be ready. And that makes for very difficult preparation. And the more times you get a no as well, oh no, we're not going to be doing it this month. Hey, we moved it back again.
Right.
The more complex that becomes. And so, a lot of these guys are reaching out though. We have good people here. Sports psychologist Jeff Troche, I know a lot of people use around here, and there's other resources for these guys to try and stay in it and stay prepared, and understand too, they may just miss a season. And the season may go away, and then they have to get themselves back into that mode of, where am I now in the year and what's possible for 2021.
So, for example, cross country, soccer, and volleyball, which is really devastating for the Cal Poly program, just because they're always so good and they're always at the top. And maybe beach volleyball will come back. Some of the same women play on both those teams. So maybe you've got a cross country athlete or a soccer player or a football player. It's not going to be in the fall for Big Sky. They're going to try to play Cal Poly football in January, February. Do they go into sustaining mode for a few months before they hit it hard again? Or how do you deal with that plan?
Well, I mean, you just mentioned a few different sports, right? And I think one of the things that's so difficult for many of us on the outskirts, especially you're running this show on professional sports, and they're all playing. And you're a Cal Poly football player, and you sit there and go, it's weird. Clemson, Notre Dame can play this week. The Chiefs and the Saints can go, but Cal Poly can't go. Like, what's the difference there? The high school kids the same way. We can't go. A cross country athlete, and the ones that I've seen in the Clint, they're the most kind of befuddled in this. Now why can't we be outside?
Go out and run.
And go run, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we see it encouraged recreationally, yes. That hey, get outside, get your vitamin D, get spaced out, get on the trails, get on the beaches, get on the pathways. But the cross country guys can't go, and so message after message hasn't really been consistent. And so for those athletes, I'd see more frustration out of a cross country / track athlete than any other athlete. You'll see some justification for the football and they say, hey, look, we're smashing into each other, we're touching each other, it's close contact. Hey, basketball, we're in the gymnasiums, it's closed space, it's easier to justify perhaps. It's hard to justify the cross country one and the track
really
and field.
is.
And so those guys, they're almost a little irritated, truthfully.
Why wouldn't they be?
Some of those athletes, there is some anger, especially from the cross country guys coming in at the fall, over at Cal Poly, and then they'll be coming into the spring as track athletes. So we'll see, but some consistency would be nice in the message. And it's got to be hard for these guys to watch some of these sports going on.
And not them.
But
and not,
they can.
Oh my gosh. Every week on the show, Rex, and I know you're still at work, so you don't get to hear the show as much. I always do my sports update for COVID. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to waste time. But there's always something in NCAA football. Or we know that Tennessee's not going to play in the Liberty Bowl next week. And NCAA basketball, Notre Dame and Syracuse scheduled for yesterday postponed because of positive tests. It's every week it's more. So I always list it and tell everyone, because you're not going to be able to follow it all yourself, so I do it for you. Well, the NBA postponed the game tonight between the Thunder and the Rockets. The way that professional sports, even collegiate sports, are handling the virus as an observer, what do you think of this?
I think a lot of like what Aaron Rodgers said just a few weeks ago. It seems like it's more about optics and sound bites than it is anything else. I mean, when they go after some of the teams in the NFL, when they go after a James Harden in the NBA, do we really think that they're going to shut the league down?
I don't.
Find the Raiders, for their thing. Find the Saints. Pretend like it maybe matters a little bit more than it does. I'm not suggesting that it isn't important, but do we really think that the leagues are going to shut down? I mean, they almost put that threat out there to let us know that they're paying attention to it.
They care.
That they care. The difficulty to the observer is like Aaron Rodgers said, how in the world can we play for 3 hours without masks? But now all of a sudden when we go and talk to our opponents after the game, masks are required.
So that is kind of bizarre.
Yeah,
that is optics. I guess that's a good point.
It's an optics thing.
Yeah.
It's why the coaches are wearing them, but 50 other players on the sideline weren't initially. It's just hard, I think. It's hard for the observer to kind of make any sense out of a lot of it. But look, the reality is the same thing for you and me. Walk into a restaurant with a mask on, take it off when you go sit down. The list goes on and on and on. I left a Dick's Sporting Goods today, and the guy was able to hand me my merchandise, but he wasn't allowed to touch the receipt to give it to me.
So
I mean, these inconsistent.
And the messaging has been really odd and different the whole time, right? Since March. And you can blame anyone you want. It's a novel virus. Like, we don't know a lot about it, and we're learning about it all along. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical professional, but I know that I'll do whatever I can. And if it ends up not working, it doesn't matter. I will do whatever I can to keep other people from getting sick, even if I'm carrying it and I don't have any symptoms. I can't believe the show's ending. Can we just stay for another hour?
Oh, I'm coming back.
Oh my gosh.
Too
Thanks,
fast.
Rex.